Hello everybody and welcome into the Grindstone Developments Truck Series, live tonight from the famous North Wilkesboro. The track ran in the real-life All-Star race, and now the GDTS Truck Series drivers have a chance to take it on here tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Well, we're getting to that point in the season. We're starting to get a little bit more clarity on who are going to be your championship favorites. But here tonight, a whole new challenge, and it comes in the form of a half-mile oval. All right, let's get right down track side as qualifying is complete and get into tonight's starting grid. And about the man that we've got sitting on the pole here tonight, first pole of the season, I do believe, unless I have my little stat sheet wrong here, and that is Toby Ritters in that number 3 truck. Again, first pole of the season for him. As apologize before we get to that, got a few things that we had to get sorted out that are giving us a little bit of a hard time, and there we go. All right, so officially getting into your starting grid here tonight, it is Toby Ritters in the 3 truck that will start from the pole position. It's going to be Nathan Meyer starting to his outside in second. Back in the 3rd spot, it'll be Kevin Martin with Bryce Rayner, multiple-time winner this season, back in 4th. George Young in 5th, and then it's Axel Smith making his season debut tonight. He'll start 6th. You got James Harris, series owner, starting 7th in the 55. Kevin Kirchar back in 8th. It'll be Caleb Forsyth alongside Brad Thacker in row number 5. And then William Mann Jr. back in 11th. It's going to be Charles Whitehead in the 12th spot. And actually, for the field here tonight, 12 trucks, pretty stacked lineup at that. So I think we're still going to see plenty of great racing. You combine the track conditions, really cool track temp. At this, again, a half-mile oval, North Wilkesboro. It does have progressive banking in the corners, so it'll be interesting to see what line becomes most favored by these drivers. We're going to go 150 laps here tonight. As always, 100% fuel, 4 sets of tires. You do have that 1 fast pair open setups and 2 green-white checkers if we were to need them. Well, just a few races left to go in the season. And here tonight, a couple drivers up front that could try to claim their first victory late in the going. Time to get going. Here we go. Green flag in the air. We are underway at North Wilkesboro, and it's a great restart for the outside line. It's actually Nathan Meyer who got the better jump. Toby Ritter's quickly fighting back, and I think the inside arguably going to be strong early on. The question's going to be how strong is it as we get late in the run. Quick to single file out for the first 3 trucks, as now you've got the 87 trying to pull clear George Young on the inside. Axel Smith able to find a little bit of room to work in front of George Young as well. He picks up a spot. The 91 of Kirchar able to get in line as well, and just like that, less than 2 laps of racing, and the entirety of the field has single filed out. Nobody moved up to the top line yet, as we got trouble here. Charles Whitehead has gone around on the backstretch. No caution yet, as he's going to quickly pull it down near the inside guardrail. And so he'll keep that truck off the track, waits for the whole field to drive by here. And again, no caution. Nice job by Charles there to get it out of the way and make sure he didn't get anybody collected. But what happens here? He'd been running by himself, a bit off the pace here, maybe just trying to get a feel for the truck. And, well, actually, he had already had some damage. And then just loops it around off of 2. I think you're going to be hearing me talk about that a couple times here tonight. It gets really, really tricky here. But I'm more concerned here for Charles as to, what happened here on the formation lap, as it appears that's where he got his damage. So look at this. Gets going and, oh, ouch. Little tire spin gets that truck right into the outside wall before we even took the green. So you almost wonder if that damage had anything to do with maybe struggling a little bit right there that ultimately led to him spinning. But up front, Toby Ritter's trying to create a little bit of a gap here, see if he can get some breathing room on the rest of the field. Nathan Meyer currently sits second. He's got a couple of drivers breathing down his neck right now, including the 96 of Kevin Martin and the 97 of Axel Smith. Again, Smith making his debut here tonight, first race of the season, but never too late to start as caution as Kevin Kirchar on the number 91. Grindstone machine has went around on the front stretch. Looks like he'll be able to get it back going in front of Charles Whitehead, who is, again, 2 laps down, so wouldn't have cost him any time there. The big news is that he was able to get back rolling before the pace car caught up. So if you're Kirchar here, you're going to be okay. I don't see any damage on that truck as he comes by our front camera right here. Thinking this was maybe just a harmless spin. Let's back take a look at it. Your PGR eSports instant replay. So he was running right around the middle of the pack here. He's got Caleb Forsyth just behind him in the 776. And as he gets off of turn 4, just back end gets loose on him. Very similar to what we saw happen to Whitehead just a handful of laps ago near the start of the race. Just gets a little bit out of shape, and it's so hard to catch it. Listen to it pick up the throttle, and just the back tire starts spinning, and does maybe make a little bit of contact right there with the inside concrete, but again, I don't think it's too bad. I think Kirchar will be okay. Not going to have to use a fast repair either. So he'll get caught up to the back of the field as we are ready to go back green. Ritter's alongside Nathan Meyer. It'll be a carbon copy of the initial start to the race. Biggest change, Axel Smith up 2 spots. Now on that second row, green flag back in the air. Toby Ritter's trouble. The 3 truck almost got spun right on the restart. He has to dive low, 3 wide to get out of the way. And oh man, he loses all of his track position now, back in the 7th spot. Trying to regroup. The big thing is that he was able to save it, but oh, that's a really, really tough break right here. The 3 of Toby Ritter's is now he's stuck alongside Brad Thacker up front. That shuffled some things around for Nathan Meyer, who now goes to the lead. Axel Smith. You got the 96 of Kevin Martin trying to challenge as well. You see Kevin get to the inside. Gonna try to work Axel up the track, and he does. A little bit of contact right there. Coming off of turn 4. That's that classic short track rubbing his racing mentality right there. The 96, maybe with a little less grip on the bottom, but knew if he could get Axel up the groove just a little bit, he could complete that pass and try to go take a shot at your leader. Further back, Toby Ritter's trying to recover now as he's made his way back up to 6th, looking for 5th here on James Harris. But he's not going to be able to get it this time. He'll stay committed. This time, though, he swaps down to the bottom through turn 1 and 2. Nothing doing there either. Brad Thacker stays in line. George Young right now side by side with the Sundrop machine. 29 of William Mann Jr. as the man's maintenance sponsor on quarter panels of that race truck as well. These two have been side by side now for a couple of laps. I'm interested to see. I would assume the outside would be favorable right here. And it looks like it is. William Mann able to roll that momentum down the straightaway, gets that big slingshot, and is quickly able to pull back clear. Now, when you get a multi-groove racetrack like this, it's always interesting because sometimes things shift, sometimes they stay to one line, and sometimes you get the line kind of changing as the run goes on. Right now, it seems like, at least for your leaders, you've got a Team Watson versus a Team Conti set up. It's the bottom lane. And in fact, the 96 of Kevin Martin, he doesn't want to waste any time right now. He's getting a little physical with Nathan Meyer, saying, hey man, if you're not going to get out of the way, I might have to do it myself. He's trying to give him a little shot as they get down into the corner. I think the 96 shows you just how much better entry he has with that truck right now, but give Meyer credit. He's able to hold relatively even off of exit, and that's how he's holding him off for now. Playing defensive on that outside line is, oh man, almost some contact for Kevin Martin. Let's go hop on board with him right here. Show you exactly how tight this looks from the cockpit view as he was able to get to the inside, and you would assume he'd try to make pretty quick work of Meyer here. We'll see how quick he's able to do it. You can hear Meyer, though, not giving up, still stubborn on that right side. But as they get off at turn number 2, Kevin Martin's a little bit better. I think he'll get clear here down into 3, and he does. So Kevin Martin is going to take over the lead here at North Wilkesboro with 18 of 150 laps complete. That is the driver out of Texas, is now Meyer. You wonder if he'll try to give him a shot back. And by the way, guess who? The number 99, Bryce Rayner, has now made his way towards the front of the field. Didn't take him long to do so either. Looks like Rayner, I don't know if he switched numbers or just switched a new custom number, but you can see he's got a different scheme on there tonight. Good looking colors though nonetheless, and if he can get by Meyer, that's going to put the Team Conti setups 1-2, and I gotta say, you almost would have guessed when it came to a short track that Team Conti would maybe have an advantage. It just seems like that's kind of been the bread and butter for Rayner all season long. Is, man, Axel Smith was snaking it all the way down the front stretch that time as Toby Ritter's was able to make the pass, maybe just in the nick of time. You can tell Axel, he's holding on position-wise pretty well. In fact, he got a really, really good start to this race. So he's still up 1 overall, but man, struggling with the handling of that truck, specifically in the rear. He's just, again, trying to get everything he can to get the throttle down early. But nonetheless, Toby Ritter's back up to 4th after that initial restart trouble, which I wanted to go back and actually show you what happened here for Ritter's. I'm not sure if he spun the tires or if he got the help out back first. Let's watch this from two angles right here. First up from the chopper view. And watch as they work off turn 4 as they come to the restart zone. See Ritters. Oh, he just either gets a little bit of wheel spin or he misses a gear. As you could see, Kevin Martin was off of him when that issue started. And obviously, nowhere for Martin to go once the issue did happen, but let's watch it from his cockpit view here and see if this gives us some better insight here. Take a listen. Ooh, I think he gets some wheel spin. I don't know if it was as a result of a shift, but watch the truck jump out. Remember, he's not getting hit right here. I think it's just wheel spin. So a tough break there for Ritters on the start of that restart. They got him back to about 7th spot, but again, climbed back to 4th. Still a long ways to go in this race. We're likely going to see at least one green flag stop. I don't think these trucks will have to make 2. On that stop, you get a chance for 4 fresh tires. Don't forget, I know we mention this every week, but these guys are on open setups, and the reason that I mention that is because you can make, obviously, adjustments when you go to the pits, and everybody kind of getting a fresh start whenever they come back out of the pits, and you get on those fresh tires. Now, I was looking at the standings here in terms of how everybody's looking via points right now, and after the last couple weeks, Nathan Meyer continues to lead in that points category actually after last week. And then you've got Bryce Rayner right now second in the point standings. James Harris is in third. Remember, he got that win last time we were live at Texas Motor Speedway. And obviously we were not here last week. I had some car troubles and fortunately wasn't able to make it back as I had initially planned. So apologize for that, but certainly glad to be back with these guys here tonight. Kevin Kershaw currently sitting 5th in points, and Ritters is 4th, by the way. Just in case I didn't mention that, the reason I'm noting that now is if he's got as much speed as he fired off with and qualified with, and he gets a win here tonight, he could be trying to creep up towards the podium spots. Now, there is, just under a 40-point difference between Harris and Ritters at the moment, so still definitely some room to try to make up. And, I don't know if these guys get any extra points or if it's only points scored how you finish the race. But when you get these smaller fields, it definitely is a little bit harder to make up that points deficit. You figure 12 trucks in the field, if they do it the way I would assume they might, then that would only be 12 points issued this race. Obviously, the leader would get 12, second would get 11, so on and so forth, if that's the way they score it. If so, you can see how a 40-point difference is going to be a little bit tougher to make up for Ritters, but a win would certainly help with that. Speaking of wins, Rayner, 4 wins on the season. Myers got 2. James Harris has gotten 1. And everybody else just about still chasing, but it was actually Brian High, who was the kind of underdog victory this season, got the job done at Talladega Superspeedway. And these guys made a stop there. So again, congrats to all the Grindstone Developments Truck Series winners so far this season. As up front, the battle between these front two has stayed relatively competitive. Rayner is not letting the 96 scoot away just yet. Now these two, again, very, very similar trucks. Both Team Conti setups. Both of them similar in the I-rating category. 4,200 for Martin, 4,400 for Rayner. So both very experienced guys. Yeah, both up 2 positions from where they started this race at. Nathan Meyer, Toby Ritters, 3rd and 4th. Kind of on an island by themselves. Not really anybody that they have to worry about at the moment. Then you've got James Harris currently back in that 5th spot. Also kind of running by himself at the moment. Axel Smith is in 6th. Got Brad Thacker in 7th. Actually, Axel Smith just made that pass on Thacker. George Young 8th. Caleb Forsyth 9th. And Kevin Kershaw rounding out your top 10. There's William Mann Jr. 11th. And fortunately, Charles Whitehead, it looks like at least for now, has taken his 51. HendrickCars.com. Chevy Silverado to the pits. And again, he had some early trouble, so part of me wonders if that was why. In fact, this was a report we had. And that was not the first green flag, even though it looked remnant. This was kind of early on in the second run. You see Whitehead immediately just about spin that truck around. And I think he tried to get it back going at that point, but then he's going to have another issue. This is a separate issue. This is off of turn 4. Just gets loose, and oh, that's a big hit off the inside concrete. And again, it didn't bring us under caution, so if you wonder why it took us a little bit to get to it, that was why. I just happened to see the data here on our little scroll bar on the side, and then William Mann Jr. with an issue of his own here in the recent past. The 29 gets a little bit high right here, and then as they get down to the next corner, See if we can figure out exactly where he... Ooh, gets loose and... Oh, man, that's another big hit. Rips the right front of that truck off as now cautions out another incident here, potentially. Try to figure out who is involved in this one if we can. I guess that was... No, it was Kevin Kirchar again. The 91, the man who brought out the first caution with the spin, brings out the second one as well, and looks like he may have decided to call it for the night. And man, it's similar for him too, where it almost looks identical to the same way that he spun in the first caution coming off of 4, and rear tires just can't seem to get enough traction as you go over that little bump on the inside of the racetrack. The tires start to spin, and it just never really gives him a chance to catch it. This thing snaps around so quickly. Watch it again here. So again, I mentioned bumps on the bottom of the racetrack. You can see Kirchar's low. In fact, almost gets kind of onto the flat in the process. And then as he kind of transitions back to some of the banking and more progressive banking, spins around, goes for a slide, and ooh, here's the damage to the front nose, but it brought out the caution as obviously he was still kind of in the racing surface. So that is your second caution of the night. Comes just about a third of the way through this 150 lap event. Kevin Martin is still your race leader. Nathan Meyer second. You've got Bryce Rayner in third. Toby Ritter's fourth. And James Harris currently rounding out your top 5. Brad Thacker, by the way, your biggest mover inside the top 10. He currently sits in 6th. So good run so far for the 56. As we group up to get the green flag yet again here, I would think pit stops, you know, that early caution, I don't think we would have seen him. I don't think it was much of a surprise for it to be that way, but go back and show you here the sequence of pit stops under this caution. Watch how many drivers decide to bring it down to the pits right here. See from that kind of long-lensed camera view, everybody bringing it down. Everybody wants fresh tires here, especially your front runners. As I think Kevin Martin fired off phenomenal in the short run. Be a little bit more curious to see how well that truck holds up against the 99er Rayner as they get into the long run. Well, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. Again, you're watching the North Wilkesboro 150 for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series here on PGR eSports. Welcome everybody in. Hope that you're having a good Tuesday night. Make sure that you tune in on Thursday as I will be back on the call for the PGR eSports Intimidator Super Speedway Series. Looking forward to that as the 96 of Kevin Martin on the inside right here for this restart. Nathan Meyer on the outside. Pace car pulls off. And here we go. Green flag back in the air. 43 of 150 laps complete. Another great restart for the 96 of Kevin Martin. Quickly able to pull ahead of the 24 of Nathan Meyer. They stay 2x2 though out back. This is where the bulk of the battling is going to be. Now it seems like through the first couple restarts that we've seen tonight, you only get about 1 to 3 laps of side-by-side action before you eventually just kind of have to single file out with the way these trucks handle and the way the tires fall off. And right now, Ritter's able to get that spot on James Harris. That's a big deal. That's that 4th spot, and he gets it a little bit sooner this time than he did on that last run. Brad Thacker, Axel Smith going to battle right here. Smith is going to see if he can take this spot. And there's the view from the gearbox of James Harris. Looking out back at the 97 of Axel Smith and Thacker. Thacker's going to get that spot off of the corner as Harris scrapes the wall, but they all sort it out. Meanwhile, up front, Kevin Martin, in the span of 2 laps, has stretched his lead out to almost a second. So that tells you just how well that this truck has been firing off so far here tonight. You see that big change in the gap, but the other thing that I want to show you is the speeds these guys run here. I think a lot of people think of a short track. You don't think of it being all that fast. North Wilkesboro is an exception to that. First off, look at the track temp. Upper 80s, so not nearly as hot as what we've seen some of the tracks be this season. As they get down to the corner, 70s and 80s, but on the straights, up to well over 115, in fact, creeping over 120 miles an hour. As Forsyth with an issue, and that is going to bring the caution out. Oh, more trouble up top. George Young. No, that's Axel Smith. I take it back. George Young was actually sneaking by on the back end of that. Axel Smith, though, was pointed the wrong direction, up in the outside wall. To figure out if he got any damage. I don't think he did. 3rd caution of the night. Let's go back and look at the replay on this one. As first, before we do that, actually, let's go see what happened to Forsyth right here. He goes for a spin off of 2, and does he get some help here from Axel Smith? Looks like he very well might. Yeah, Axel's loose off the corner. He's trying to catch it. You see the 776 washing up as well. They make some contact, and it kind of helps Axel save it, but in the process, see Forsyth goes towards the inside wall and makes pretty significant contact with the left front. Yeah, and you see it rip the fender off. So that's definitely a concerning hit right there for Caleb Forsyth. Something he's definitely going to have to go in and get worked on. And then for Axel Smith right here, watch this. As he gets in the corner, just loses it. You wonder if maybe he was still kind of focused on that near incident that just happened with Forsyth. Just couldn't quite judge the corner the same, or if he just felt some pressure out back. I'm not sure. You see George Young was a fair distance behind him here. I'll show you this again here from the cockpit/gearbox view. This is when he first spins. This is what it looks like here for Axel Smith. Watch as he gets in the corner. Just a little bit too much speed. The rear end of the race car just not secured to the track. And then saw George Young come along right there at the last second, but was able to, I think, get checked up here before they ever actually made contact. Well, now I take that back. There was a little bit of contact right there between those two. So for George Young, a little bit of nose damage, but didn't look like anything too major. You see Young lock up the brakes. And no, actually, he didn't hit Smith. He hit the outside wall instead. And Axel ultimately did a loop. So both of those two, I think, are going to be okay. Smith maybe gets out of it a little bit better. Let's look at this one more view here. TV1, see if we can go back to Axel Smith again on this. And for George Young, I mean, there's nowhere you can go. Sometimes when you commit like that, it's just tough. But for Axel Smith, as soon as that truck starts to spin, George Young kind of was already committed to the middle/top and just didn't leave him with anywhere to go. All right, so as we go back live, pace car is going to make the left turn. Green flag is back in the air. We are now officially 1/3 of the way through the North Wilkesboro 150. Great restart again for Kevin Martin. Bryce Rayner trying to file into second, but Nathan Meyer getting after it this time. He wants to see if he can take that 24 truck up to the lead here on the short run, but tell you what, the 87 rather, of Rayner did a really good job defending that move. It's always hard when you set your truck up to be good in the long run to, you know, kind of force yourself to be aggressive early on through these restarts, but that's what Rayner felt like he had to do right there. It's a good thing he did. It worked out well, and now he positions himself to still be right in the tire tracks of his setup shop teammate, the 96 of Kevin Martin. Now, you do see them catching the 97 of Axel Smith right here, who is currently on the lead lap. And I would assume he's going to try to keep it that way. You wonder if he will impede the leaders right here at all, as this is the first instance of lap traffic that they're going to have to even deal with here tonight. And normally we'd be talking about quite a bit of lap traffic, but with this small of a field, you're not going to see too much of it unless we get a really long green flag run. But for Smith, seems to be doing a pretty decent job at the moment of at least trying to stay out in front of these guys. I know he's hoping more than anything just for a caution. Keep himself on that lead lap. Good news is if he does lose this lap, he'd be the only truck a lap down, so he would be eligible for that lucky dog as long as he is not the cause of the caution. Man, what a beautiful racetrack to be back at. I'm so excited to see these guys here. You know, I know NASCAR brought the track back in the recent past couple of years as the All-Star race, and of course with iRacing bringing it back, a lot of guys, this is one of their favorite tracks, as it's just so interesting the way that it runs with that progressive banking, and again, kind of that old surface. I say old surface, more so a bumpy surface. Just the way that you can run the trucks here, different lanes, saving tire. Really is a driver's track, and a very technical one at that. Kevin Martin here still trying to find a way to work around the 97 of Smith. It's very easy to catch lap traffic, but sometimes in a case like this, it's a little bit tougher to get past them. But Axel Smith, for a driver in his first race, that was a very sportsmanlike and veteran move. He lets the 96 go by. He says, hey man, I know you're the leader and I know you're much faster than me. Go ahead and take it. So Kevin Martin is able to get by the 97, and now he won't fight the rest of the field nearly as hard. So he lets Rayner sneak by without any issues. The next up in line to catch him is Nathan Meyer. Toby Ritter still in fourth, by the way. James Harris, who last time we got to see, we were talking a lot about, and that was because of the short run speed he had at Texas Motor Speedway. If anybody remembers back to that race, we had a really late race restart, and that was right in the wheelhouse for James Harris. He had a setup perfect for it, was able to fend off and fight off the 99 of Bryce Rayner to get his first win of the season. Driver out of Texarkana, Texas, was very pumped up to get a win at his home track. And a track that he had said was one that he felt like eluded him. Said he was able to win at a lot of different tracks and a lot of different leagues, but Texas was one that always seemed to slip away one way or another. So he has still some momentum working off of that, but for James Harris, I think he's got to be feeling pretty comfortable with where he stands in the point scenario. Again, currently third in the point standings, but just under 40 points ahead of Toby Ritters. Now, in terms of trying to catch that second place truck of Bryce Rayner in the point standings, Harris still has a good shot at that. In fact, he's only 5 points back, even though you look at it and he's only got 1 win compared to Rayner's 4 wins. And even the average finish for Rayner is a little bit better. Is third for Rayner, and it's 4th for James Harris. So those two still in a pretty tight battle for points, and I wouldn't even rule him out of a chance at the championship, depending on how the next race or two goes. I think if Rayner gets another win here, it's really going to start to close in on just him and Nathan Meyer. Those top 3 have definitely established themselves so far this season as the 3 main guys to watch, and everybody else feels like has been kind of chasing, whether it's with the setup or just trying to find a little bit more speed on the track. And speaking of setups, if you missed it, big changes next season, especially if you're interested in becoming a driver. These guys are going to be moving to fixed setups. They're changing a couple other things as well. So you're not going to see the big setup shop advantages that maybe we saw throughout a few races this season. Everybody's going to be back on an even playing field, and it's going to be all about tire, fuel strategy, and who can run the fastest line on the racetrack. Certainly looking forward to that. So the 55 of Harris, by the way, has picked up 2 spots. Thacker is still your biggest mover, up 4 from where he started. And for Kevin Martin and Bryce Rayner, those two are both still up a couple spots from where they started this race at. So the majority of your top 10 has been moving forward since the start. Is now Rayner maybe trying to apply a little bit more pressure. Looks like his truck rolling better on entry and through the center of the corner. But then it's the 96 of Kevin Martin who seems to be able to get a little bit of a better exit, which is paying massive dividends for him at the moment. Tell you what, too, I always thought it was interesting when you have, I don't know if these two are direct teammates or just, as I mentioned earlier, setup teammates, but if it came down to the end of the race and they're like this, if you're Bryce Rayner and you have 4 wins, how much do you want that 5th one, right? Do you give him a little shot, try to move him up the racetrack, or just kind of ride it out like this, see if you can try to pass him clean? I guess we'll have to wait and see as we get closer and closer now to the halfway point of this race. And by the way, I said early, right at the tip of the broadcast, when we were talking about the race info and what to expect here with the progressive banking, I thought there was a chance that we would see this high line maybe develop as we got later into the run, but it just hasn't happened. I mean, the leaders have been pretty much stuck to the bottom as it stands. Saw Kevin Martin get a little bit higher right there, but I almost wonder if that's the line he's running or if he just missed the corner a little bit. Although he did kind of run a little bit higher than Rayner at that time through 3 and 4 as well. So maybe Kevin Martin is trying to work that line up the racetrack a little bit. You see him kind of diamond it up and then try to kind of pinch it down on exit. And hey, if it's working, might as well go with it here. So Rayner's going to have to maybe make some in-car adjustments to his line to see if he can continue to stick with that 96. As, by the way, an update on the trucks who are not on the lead lap. Axel Smith currently being scored 1 lap down after being involved in that last caution. And then you've got Kevin Kirchar being scored out of this race after he was involved in the first 2 cautions here tonight. And then Charles Whitehead, quite a few incidents himself, and so he decided to call it for the night. And I believe this was Whitehead's debut race as well, and if it was, man, I feel for you. That's a tough way to start the season off, is at a track like North Wilkesboro. I don't care if we're in the Truck Series or the Cup Series. This is a tough, tough track, and we have already seen quite a few drivers with some trouble here tonight. And we still have a long ways to go. Well, halfway through is the official scoring here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Up front, it's Kevin Martin leading Bryce Rayner. We'll stay side by side as we go to our first break tonight. Stick with us. We'll be right back at North Wilkesboro.
couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by three. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to North Wilkesboro Speedway. You saw it all while we were on non-stop. The battle for the lead led to a change in the lead. Bryce Rayner was able to take it over from the 96 of Kevin Martin. And now he will try to do what he has done all season. And that is walk away as the run goes on. Kevin Martin, though, again, second at the moment. Nathan Meyer still third. Toby Ritter still fourth. James Harris fifth. Thacker sixth. George Young seventh. Caleb Forsyth eighth. Axel Smith in ninth. And those are the remaining trucks that are still on the track right now. So talking about this green flag pit stop, because we're starting to, have to think about it here a little bit as each lap goes by. Now, when exactly we'll see it, I think is the big question. Maybe some guys decide to go in a little bit early. Maybe some decide to go late. I think if you're Kevin Martin here, it all depends on how easy you can stick with Bryce Rayner. If he starts really creating a big gap, maybe you try to go in early and play defense later. If you're able to kind of hang with him, I almost think maybe you try to match him on the tire strategy, because Martin was faster than him for, maybe a quarter to half of the run. And it wasn't until we start to get now into the really long portions of the run where all of a sudden Rayner seems to have found a bit more speed, at least for the time being. But I know that the 96 of Martin might be chasing that truck just a little bit right now, and it's always a really tough thing to deal with when the tires start to wear out. Even if your setup's good, it's just such a big fall off here in terms of lap time between new and old tires. Kind of giving you an idea of just how much you really can feel the wear and tear that your tires take at these really fast half miles. I think the biggest comparison would be Bristol, but obviously not nearly as much banking here as there is at Bristol, but still similar in terms of how fast it runs. And boy, quite an interesting line here that Toby Ritters is actually running, or at least ran that time through 3 and 4. Let's see what he does here. Excuse me, through 1 and 2. Let's see what he does in 3 and 4. Looks like that's a pretty... What's about what you would expect for the line, but watch what he does down here 1 and 2. Look how low he goes. In fact, he actually gets down to the flat and kind of uses that to get the back of the truck to wobble and rotate a little bit better as he gets to the center of the corner. Now, again, over here in 3 and 4, you're kind of forced to run a little bit more of a normal line. That was definitely an interesting look right there for the 3 of Toby Ritters. Keep an eye on that line. That's definitely the lowest and most aggressive entry of anybody that we've seen so far here tonight, and it paid off via qualifying effort. And I still think if we get a late race restart, Ritters is up here in these top 2 rows. He's got a shot at it. And whenever you have qualifying speed like that, you have short run speed. And obviously that one mistake on the second restart of the night for Ritters is what really cost him all the track position regardless. Certainly wonder if he wouldn't still be up here had it not been for that issue. By the way, again, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here We're watching the Grindstone Developments Truck Series on PGR eSports. These guys will be back next week, which, you know what, while we have a chance, let's take you over and actually show you what it's looking like here, the upcoming schedule for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. These guys don't have that many races left to go. We're at North Wilkesboro tonight. Next week, it's off to Charlotte, which I would arguably count as kind of the crown jewel for these guys of the season. Obviously, following the real-life Coca-Cola 600. So certainly going to be a big deal to a lot of drivers next week. I think we'll see a bigger field, and I think a lot of guys are going to come practice and prep for that one. So looking forward to it. After that, it's off to Nashville Super Speedway in the Music City. And then we'll head to Michigan on June 10th. Looking forward to that one as well. It'll be 66 laps to round out the season. And don't forget the way that the points work. It's an accumulated points championship, so it's all about consistency. So the drivers that show up more and place better more are the ones that you see at the front. A little bit of a battle maybe shaping up. No, I take that back. In fact, Forsyth has fallen a lap down, as have a few others. And then we've had a few things shape up here, so let's first talk about what happened to Axel Smith right here. This did not draw a caution. Watch the 97 here getting into turn one. So he's going through the center of the corner. The truck starts to step out, and eventually it just goes all the way around. He's actually able to lock it down, and he gets it about 45, 90 degrees sideways before he straightens it back up. And so that's why it didn't bring out the caution. So that's good news there for Axel Smith, or excuse me, Caleb Forsyth, Kevin Martin. We saw some pit stops. So Kevin Martin making that pit stop here, kind of the early call of these drivers. And I think he did that because he felt like he had to try something different here if he wants to beat out Bryce Rayner. And now's a good chance to actually look at the lap times and shade the difference here between Kevin Martin, who just ran the last lap, and it was his fastest lap of the race, at an 18.449. Compare that to Rayner, 19.3 and 19.4. So, you know, about a second of fall off between these two, and Rayner is by no means at the end of the run just yet. He can keep going, so there's probably somewhere between a second to a second and a half worth of fall off when you compare new tires to old tires. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, once everything cycles out, and this would be assuming it stays green, which I gotta think Kevin Martin's certainly hoping for. If it stays green, once everything cycles out, you're gonna have Martin go to the lead, and it will be Rayner trying to chase. And it'll be all about that battle of can he chase him down with the amount of laps we have left. Is whoa, Martin tried to really gas it up off the corner right there and got into the outside wall. As he goes around Nathan Meyer, next up is going to be trying to work around the 87 to get his lap back. So he just doesn't want to see a caution until that happens. As soon as he gets back around Rayner, I don't think he's going to care if we see a caution. We've now closed in on under 50 laps to go, so we are now officially 2/3 of the way through this 150 laps, 75-mile event. Axel Smith has now fallen 2 laps down. Caleb Forsyth also has fallen 2 laps down as it stands at the moment. You would think that both of these two are going to get at least one of those laps back when the leader eventually makes his pit stop, as Forsyth continues to try to pick off as many trucks as he can and maybe get one of those laps back. Kevin Martin continues to chase. In fact, he's almost there. But again, this will just be to get his lap back unless Rayner decides to pit sooner. Brad Thacker right now in the 5th spot. James Harris has moved up to 4th, and Toby Ritter's now back on the podium with the way that the standings sit at the moment. So with this being, I didn't even really think about this part of it, but this is really kind of the final short track of the season. I mean, Nashville Super Speedway, it's a little interesting the way it runs. It's not quite a short track, but it's not quite a mile and a half either. But it definitely runs a lot faster, especially in these trucks. So I'm not going to call it a mile and a half, or excuse me, I'm not going to call it a short track. But after that, you think about Michigan, and then you think about next week Charlotte, a mile and a half and greater tracks. It's going to be how we finish off the season. George Young now going to bring it down to the pits. This will be his final stop of the night with almost 40 laps now left to go. So for Young here, I would assume that the call is going to be 4 tires and fuel. I haven't seen anybody go with anything else yet, and I just can't really see a reason that you would. And actually, I'll take it back. George Young, I don't know if he had an issue, forgot to check something or what the deal is. 48 brings it into his box, and he's just sitting there. He's not actually doing anything at the moment, so not sure what the problem there was for George Young. We'll see if we can get an update on that here in a little bit, as Kevin Martin was able to finally get back around Bryce Rayner, so he is now officially back on the lead lap. Rayner, though, continues to stay out. I just wonder here, I know it's going to be a tire advantage for him when he switches it, but you definitely don't want to run too long on these older tires, as you may not have enough time on the fresher tires to try to go back up and track down that 96 machine, especially with the lap times that, again, he continues to run. In fact, shade of difference again between these two. 18.7s the last few laps. Rayner 19.4s, 19.3s, and actually it's evening out a little bit better than I would have thought it would have. So Rayner certainly still doing a good job even on these older tires to kind of manage how much time he's losing to the 96 of Kevin Martin. But that is still almost half a second a lap. That will obviously still add up pretty quickly, as Toby Ritter's now back to the 6th position. Of course, his 7th, Axel Smith in 8th. George Young is back out on the racetrack, currently being scored in the 9th spot and 3 laps down. So again, not sure exactly what the issue was right there for George Young, but a tough break nonetheless. And for Bryce Rayner in 87, I think when we get to lap 120, that's got to be kind of the cue of you really got to pit by then. Unless for some reason he's able to stretch this to the end, which I don't see any way he is. I just think he's trying to run it long, and might work out, but just get really worried. 30 laps to go. I just wonder if that's enough time. But we'll have to wait and see here, as we have now hit 113. Make it 114 of 150 laps at North Wilkesboro. And as it stands at the moment, only 5 trucks on the lead lap. Ritter's is the next truck to try to get his lap back, and so he's pretty far behind. You're a leader. In fact, he's almost 3/4 of a track behind Bryce Rayner, so he probably won't get his lap back until the 87 decides to make a pit stop here. 115 of 150 laps now complete, and Rayner just looks so smooth. I mean, that truck is on absolute rails here tonight. Watch it from the onboard view. Again, this is deep into a tire run. Usually this is where most drivers are really starting to struggle with the handling and just trying to fight it home until we can get to a pit stop. But I mean, Rayner looks about as smooth as you could possibly be at this point in the run, and see the truck just turns so smoothly for him. He's able to really get back on the gas early coming out of the corner. Over 120 miles an hour, still top speed, right before he has to check up to get down into the corner. So far so good from the 99 Rayner, as we are approaching just 30 laps to go here at North Wilkesboro. Will we see a pit stop? We'll have to wait and see. We'll have it all as we go side by side. Stick with us. We'll be right back at North Wilkesboro.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. 3x3. Trouble, around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
.25 laps remaining at North Wilkesboro. The Grindstone Developments Truck Series. Bryce Rayner still yet to make a pit stop, and as each lap goes by, more and more I start to wonder here if he's planning on trying to just stay out the rest of the way. And if that is the case, I think that Rayner may be able to win this race based off of that strategy. And I feel like usually when we think about what Rayner likes to do, it's not this kind of strategy, but I mean, hey, if it's working out for him, you might as well. Now, Nathan Meyer, Kevin Martin still trying to play chase here. For Kevin Martin, the gap stands. He is over 9 seconds back. 23 laps to go. This is, again, now starting to go under the assumption that Rayner will not be pitting. It's still a lot of ground to try to make up, and you got to remember that tires even out more and more the more that you run them. So for Kevin Martin right now, 19.1 the last couple of laps. For Bryce Rayner, 19.6, 19.4. So he's still probably anywhere from about 3 to 5 tenths of a second slower per lap, which, you do the math. I don't feel like doing it right now, but I think the idea is that it's just still not quite going to be enough when you kind of take into account some of the fall off. I mean, I guess if he was able to hold right about half a second each lap, it'd be close. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, you never know, but I think that at this point, Rayner has just about basically committed to staying out, because even if he pit, with how close, Martin is, who, by the way, was just able to get by Nathan Meyer, he would lose so much time, there's not a chance he'd make it up. So I will say now with certainty, Bryce Rayner's plan all along was to stay out. It's exactly what he is trying to do. He's still got to do it, though, for 20 more laps. Kevin Martin, right now, 8.2 seconds back, trying to track down his Team Conti teammate. Again, Meyer rounding out the podium, but it's James Harris fourth. Toby Ritter's fifth, as Brad Thacker with some trouble off into the grass goes to 56. Gotta think that was a hold your breath moment right there for your leader, as Thacker almost brought out the caution here with a near incident coming off of turn 2. What happened? 56, does he just get loose on the inside? Yes, he does, right in front of George Young, too, who almost plowed right into the back of him and would have had nowhere to go. Man, that could have been really, really bad. But a close call avoided. The 56 of Thacker, and again, we stay green for the moment, which is good news for Bryce Rayner. He crosses the line this time. It'll be just 16 laps to go here at North Wilkesboro. By the way, North Wilkesboro obviously located in North Carolina, the same spot, same state, I should say, as what we'll be at next week, except we'll be obviously in Charlotte, North Carolina. For one of the more crown jewel type racetracks that the Grindstone Developments Truck Series heads to this season. By the way, update you there on Kevin Martin. He is now about 7.2 seconds back. So he's closed it in another second, but it's just not enough time. I think if we still had, maybe 30 to 50 laps, but that'd be a lot of laps, and at that point you would assume Rayner would have already pit. So I just don't think that the fall off is quite as much as maybe what Martin was thinking it was, to be able to try to get up here and catch Rayner by him not pitting and choosing to stay out instead. And I wonder how much fuel, it'll be interesting to ask him here in the post-race interviews, assuming he stays as your leader. Wonder how much fuel, if any, Rayner had to save, or if it was more so Kevin Martin just trying a tire strategy and trying to just find some way to beat the 99. Axel Smith, by the way, goes back around, so that'll now put him 2 laps down. And the gap now closer to about 6.5 seconds between Bryce Rayner and Kevin Martin. And we still obviously can't see these two in the same camera shot, at least from the blink yet. Kevin Martin, to give you an idea here, currently coming off of turn 4. And I'll tell you right as he goes into turn 1 right now, as Rayner's working his way off of turn 2. So they're only separated, well, in fact, you can actually show it here. They're only separated by about a straightaway or so, as the gap now officially falls under 6 seconds. So we'll clear everything out here and put it back up for you here for the end of this race. But Rayner, I think all he's got to do is manage here. No mistakes. I still think he's okay. At this point, you figure 10 laps to go, 5 seconds. He's going to have to make up basically half a second a lap at this rate to try to get there, and just don't think it's going to happen. But you never know. I've seen crazier things, as we saw Nathan Meyer blinking around a little bit. James Harris trying to chase down the 24 for that final podium spot, but he currently sits about 4.5 seconds back, so I don't think he's going to have enough time to get up there and make that happen. And you've got Brad Thacker in 6th, Caleb Forsyth 7th, Axel Smith 8th. George Young is in 9th. William Mann Jr. has also retired from the race, so that now again just leaves 9 trucks in the running at the moment with what will be 8 laps to go. I think the other big thing here that Rayner doesn't want to see is that caution, which can fall any time before the white flag to indicate that this race is official. Kevin Martin right now, what I think he's probably praying for one, is just at the last second there, saw him get in the camera view alongside the 776 of Forsyth. He is just now into turn 3 as Bryce Rayner's off of turn 4. And so that gap will now fall officially under 5 seconds. But as we'll be coming up on 6 laps to go, the pace would now have to increase to about a second per lap for Kevin Martin to try to catch the 99 of Bryce Rayner. When it gets down to about 2 seconds, that's when you really see these two start to get close to each other. But 6 laps to go, 5 away from seeing the white flag to make this race official, and making it a handful of victories for Bryce Rayner this season. One more time to the field here before we finish things off. At the front is George Young, again runs 9th. Axel Smith is in 8th. Caleb Forsyth currently sitting in 7th. Brad Thacker in 6th. Toby Ritter's in 5th. James Harris, who currently sits in 4th, the last truck on the lead lap. Think about that. Only 4 trucks scheduled to finish on the lead lap here tonight. Then you've got Nathan Meyer 3rd, Kevin Martin in 2nd, and they're all continuing to chase after this guy right here. Bryce Rayner, just 3.5 laps to go for the driver out of Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. Trying to grab again his 5th win of the season. He has been absolutely dominant so far, but still trying to take over that points lead in 24 of Nathan Meyer. Now Meyer again scheduled to finish 3rd unless anything really, let's say anything malicious happened. There's no other way I see that changing. And again, for Rayner, he's about 6 points behind, and if the points count is the exact way that we kind of talked about earlier, then this should allow Rayner to catch up by about 2 points on the 24 of Nathan Meyer. So that'll put him down just 4 points, and it's getting pretty close, but these two keep finishing so consistently in the top 3 that even though a win is great, if Meyer continues to finish 2nd or 3rd, that points gap just closes so slowly. It doesn't always feel like a win, but here tonight for the 87, who was able to just then take the white flag, well, he has been pure dominance. He decided to do it via strategy, though. He won 4 times before it on long run speed. He does it again tonight. Bryce Rayner off of turn 4 is going to take home his 5th victory of the season at North Wilkesboro. Does a little drift through 1 and 2 as a little bit of celebration. See if he has enough fuel and tire to bring it back around and burn it down. Kevin Martin finishes 2nd. The official gap between those two, 4.8 seconds. So I think he still would have realistically needed another 10 or 20 laps to actually get up there and catch him. This Team Conti, though, regardless, going to go 1-2. As everybody's going to burn it down. Toby Ritter's over there in turn 4. He's doing some burnouts. What a win this one is for Bryce Rayner. I say what a win it is, but with as many as he's had so far, I think to him it's got to feel like just another good performance. It's hard to say that a win doesn't feel special, because I think they all do, but as a driver, when you start winning this much in this short of a span, this is one of those feelings you kind of get where you almost feel like you're supposed to win, and if you don't, it kind of feels like just a bad run in general. But man, Team Conti bringing out the fast sets here tonight. Finished with the 1-2 spots. Bryce Rayner, your race winner. Kevin Martin taking that second spot. Nathan Meyer finished in third. It's James Harris back in fourth. Toby Ritters takes home fifth here tonight with Brad Thacker in sixth. Caleb Forsyth seventh. And it's Axel Smith in eighth. George Young ninth. And William Mann Jr. rounding out your top 10. Kevin Kirchhoff finished in 11th. And it's Charles Whitehead rounding out the field in 12th. All right, we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at North Wilkesboro. All right, going to start first here tonight with your race winner, and now 5-time race winner, Bryce Rayner. Bryce, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Austin.
Man, we're going to have to save you a designated seat up here with how many times we keep talking to you each and every week. It seems like you've had a chance to compete to win, and you get the job done again here tonight. So before I ask you about the way points are looking, I got to ask you about the strategy here tonight. You see your SimConti teammate, Kevin Martin, decide to pit. What was going through your mind when you saw him make that call, and did you feel confident you were going to have enough gap there to win it at the end?
That's a tough question, honestly. Just because me and Kevin were talking, and we know we were good on fuel regardless, but he was feeling a tight condition in his truck, and he was pretty much in clean air for that pretty much the whole first run there, and I wasn't feeling much of a tight condition, so I kind of was, hoping it would go green and I would just run the whole distance, but he was like, yeah, I'm going to pit here. And, he did. And once I saw his lap times coming up and all that stuff, I think he would have had a chance have I ran a little bit slower or just not had the great pace that I did. But either way, it was a heck of a battle battling Kevin early on. But I felt like either way, especially once I got by him, I think I was going to pull away. It was hard to tell, but he was really fighting that tight condition. So he felt like it was going away pretty quick.
Interesting. Well, I'll tell you what, I want to ask you now about points, Bryce, because we look at it and you've got 5 wins on the season compared to Nathan Meyer, the current points leader, who has 2. But when you get these small fields, the way the points accumulate, you only actually pick up 2 points here tonight. Does that kind of put a little bit of extra pressure, knowing that we're closing in on just 3 races left in the season, if you get these smaller fields, that it makes it that much harder to try to catch up in points?
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough. You have a great competitor like Nathan. He's going to run well regardless, especially with these small fields. He'll probably run on the top 5, top 3 even, maybe win here and there. So it is a little bit tough. I don't know what the point situation is right now. I don't know if you set it 5 points or 6 points, something like that. But I know my bad race was Dega for sure. And I lost a little bit in Martinsville as well. So I think that was the whole game changer there. So if we go back to Dega, where we had a fast car and we had teammates to help and push our way to the front, we had it pretty good. Just, the last couple restarts there at Dega wasn't fancying me, but either way, we're gonna push hard. We're gonna go try to win these last 3 and make ourselves a 8-time winner in this league this season. But it all comes down to how many people we have in the race, how good our sets are. I know we're fast each and every week, but if Nathan and James and all them bring pretty fast hot rods the next 3 weeks, it's going to be tough to try to catch up, but we'll do our best. If not, that's great for Nathan to grab the championship by, I think, probably 1 point if I finish in front of him these last 3 races.
Well, 4 points, the official gap separating you guys right now.
Okay.
And if you keep winning, you might just get him here in these next 3 races. But hey, before we let you head out tonight, Bryce, we want to see if there's anybody you want to thank or shout out after another win.
Yeah, thanks, Austin. First, I want to shout out to you up there in the booth and PGR for hosting us this season. I know it's again low car count. Last week was pretty good in Kansas, so we had hope, but this is a small track and not many people like Wilkesboro. But hopefully we get the couple people that we had last week come back for the next 3 weeks, and we'll have more than, I think, 15 or 16. So that's good. So thank you for broadcasting this race and showing off for the family, friends who all love to watch this iRacing gig, or hobby as I should call it. Again, thanks to all the sponsors, Grindstone Development, James, all the admins, Eli, everybody who puts the league on. It's great to have a group of guys that actually love racing with each other, and kind of put on a show for the fans. Also, big shout out to Craig. I know he's not here this season, but he's been repping most of my paints this year. He just made one this afternoon. As you can see, the Memorial Day weekend scheme. So love that scheme from him, and had to put it on the air tonight when you guys were broadcasting. So hopefully it looked good up there, and hopefully it looked good for the friends and family who watched. It's going to be one heck of a weekend as well. Again, shout out to Team Conti Sim Performance, Martin PC, Digital Sim Sports, and lastly Kevin Martin for battling. I know he won a bunch last week at North Wilkesboro, so I knew he was going to be tough to beat, but we did it, and we will move on to next week.
Sounds like a plan. Well, Bryce, thank you for talking to us again. Congrats on the win, and we will see you next week.
You got it, Austin. Thank you very much.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to tonight's second place finisher in the number 96 truck. That's Kevin Martin. Kevin, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, you bring home second here tonight, but it is still a 1-2 nonetheless for Team Conti Setups. And now we just talked to your teammate Bryce Rayner, and he mentioned as part of the strategy call, you said the truck felt like it was getting tight out front. Man, you looked great in the short run. Tell us a little bit about what you started to feel as the run went on there.
Yeah, the track temp was about 35 to 40 degrees cooler than what it was in the officials, and I went with a different setup I hadn't ran before, and it just got super tight. It was so tight that I was getting loose off exit, and that's what got Bryce back up there. And I was like, whatever, I'll just pit and see what can happen here.
Well, you pit, and it still works out in a good second place finish. You almost got there, but hey, nonetheless, again, kind of making still a season debut for you here. How did you kind of feel tonight getting in with these guys? I know it was a smaller field, and how do you feel about your chances over the next couple of weeks with some of the tracks we got lined up?
Yeah, it was good. I like my chances. I'll be here. I'm not good at Nashville in the truck, so we'll just kind of see how it goes.
Sounds like a plan. Well, hey, Kevin, listen, before we let you head out here tonight, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thanks guys for broadcasting. Thanks James for putting this league on, and Team Conti Setups.
Kevin, thank you for talking to us again. Congrats on the second place finish, and we'll see you next week at Charlotte.
Thanks.
All right, now that is going to bring us up to your third place finisher tonight, the 24 of Nathan Meyer. Nathan, this is Austin in the booth. Get a copy.
Yeah, man, what's going on?
Well, another consistent finish for you here tonight, taking home another podium. But, man, I got to think at this point you're more so focused on the championship. We talked to Rayner. He continues to win, but you had a couple good races where he had a couple bad races, and so you find yourself 4 points ahead of the 99, which is 3 races left. What's kind of going through your mind after the run tonight?
Yeah, it's been a operation to finish second to Bryce the last few weeks, and with three races left, 4 points, so I just got to keep doing that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, if you finish second to him the next 3 weeks, get the job done by at 1 point. But, we're kind of done with the short tracks, sketch or streak of things, however you want to put it. Now we move to some of the bigger tracks. Obviously, Charlotte next week, then it's off to Nashville Super Speedway, and then Michigan at the championship. We saw you win early on in the season. Do you feel like any of those tracks is maybe your next shot at getting win number 3?
Yeah, I like Charlotte and Michigan a lot. Obviously, with Michigan and even a little bit of Charlotte too, it's a lot of drafting. Make sure you just don't lose the guy in front of you. So, I think those tracks will be fun. I just feel like our setups ever since Bristol have just not been as fast as those other guys. So we've been just trying to salvage some finishes, but hopefully for those next few tracks we can bring a little bit more speed and compete.
Absolutely. Well, Nathan, before we let you head out tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, man, thanks for doing this for us, and then Thanks for Kevin and Blackstone Developments and or Grindstone Developments, and thanks for Team Watson for hooking us up.
And thank you for talking to us, Nathan. Congrats again on the third place finish, and we'll see you next week at Charlotte.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, with that, that's going to wrap up the coverage here tonight for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series at North Wilkesboro. It was a smaller field, but nonetheless, he adds another win to the tally. Bryce Rayner with win number 5 on the season. Next week, it is off to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Looking forward to hopefully a bigger field for that one and hopefully some more excitement as the championship continues to close in. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. And until next time, have a good night.